Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, 24 March. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Australia and the EU have striked up a free trade deal. North Korea's Kim Jong-un has doubled down on the country's nuclear program, and the EU reacts to concerning reports of a Hungarian leak to Russia. So firstly, Australia and the European Union agreed on a new trade deal after 8 years of negotiations. The EU chief, Ursula von der Leyen, and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced the agreement at a ceremony in the Australian capital of Canberra. It is the latest trade accord signed by the EU in a push to diversify trade as Europe faces challenges from the United States and China. Albanese and von der Leyen agreed on a security and defence partnership also. In a statement, they said the EU and Australia may be geographically far apart, but couldn't be closer in terms of how we see the world. With these dynamic new partnerships on security and defence, as well as trade, we're moving to even closer relations. Albanese called the deal a significant moment for Australia. So what? Firstly, I like a security agreement between the two. That's great for Western unity alongside NATO. But also, it's likely a significant step forward for supply chain security for Europe and Australia. Australia mostly in the sales aspect, and they have a different partner to sell their rare earth minerals and other ores too. However, refining rare earth minerals is still going to remain an issue. This is the one thing that China controls 80% of around about. So some other countries really need to step in. It would be good to see Australia step up and refine their own minerals. I've seen talk about this for years. However, it's expensive and absolutely grueling work. So it's unsurprising that it isn't something the Australian people want to really get involved with. But yeah, regardless, it's still likely a good step forward for Western unity during troubling times with the Trump administration. And next, North Korea will permanently cement itself as a nuclear-armed nation while treating South Korea as its most hostile enemy, the leader Kim Jong-un said. In a statement to a state-run news outlet, he said the dignity of the nation, its national interests, and ultimate victory can only be guaranteed by the strongest power. He delivered the remarks to the Supreme People's Assembly, the communist-run country's rubber-stamp legislature. Lawmakers also approved the 2026 state budget that raises defence spending to 15.8% of total expenditure. Kim again rejected trading disarmament for security guarantees, a long-standing push from the United States. So what? It's likely that the conflict in Iran has made it very clear to Kim Jong-un to guarantee the survival of his nation, he needs nuclear weapons. And if the US was to draw down in South Korea, it's likely, I think, we would see South Korea attempting to get a similar weapon, much like we see in the Pakistan-India conflict, where both sides were driven to get the weapon by the other. And it's possible that this is becoming the end of nuclear arms control as we see it, possibly, well, depending on what we see over the next few years, particularly after Trump leaves office. Basically, the way it's worked in the world is the US said to everybody, you don't need nuclear weapons because we have them and will protect you. Now, the US is becoming more isolated and insular. They're withdrawing back to their own borders and basically breaking up old defense alliances, well, attempting to at least. And it's likely that this will lead to other countries attempting to get nuclear bombs. Germany has talked about it. France already has it as the second nuclear armed nation in Europe. The UK also has it. But, as the US stops guaranteeing defense, you'll definitely see countries you'll likely see countries looking to try and get it. In particular, if Iran was to get a nuclear weapon, you would have seen Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and other Gulf states attempting to do the same due to the threat of Iran having a nuclear bomb and being able to threaten them with it. And lastly, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban on Monday said that he had ordered an investigation into what he has referred to as a wiretapping on the foreign minister. In a statement on Facebook, he said, the wiretapping of a government minister is a serious attack on Hungary, and I've instructed the Minister of Justice to immediately investigate the information. It comes after a weekend media report from the Washington Post which was dismissed by the foreign minister as fake news and senseless conspiracy theories, accusing Hungarian foreign minister of regularly passing sensitive information about the European Union directly to the Russian foreign minister. The report made no mention of wiretapping. Instead, it accused him of deliberately briefing his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. The Washington Post cited an unnamed serving or former EU security official as saying that the foreign minister regularly called Russia's Lavrov during breaks in EU meetings to give him direct reports on what was being discussed. So what? I mean, very concerning reports, and something I've been looking at maybe to make a YouTube video if there's enough there. However, while it's damning of the Hungarian government, it's also suspiciously timed. The Hungarians go to the polls next month, so I don't think it's unlikely that this wasn't timed with the elections. You know, countries like to do those sorts of things. But it appears highly likely that Hungary has been working closely with Russia in an attempt to sway the election in April. Orban is down significantly in the polls after ruling the country for a long time, and it's unlikely he wants to leave peacefully. And it's also possible that if Orban does lose, there'll be some significant revelations in what his country was up to. You know, once he loses control of the security services, he may suddenly, the new government may suddenly learn what Orban was up to in his attempts to stay in power. However, it's also possible they'll burn all the evidence, as I probably would. Anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.